Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Editor Neba coming to you from the future once again. Welcome to episode 13, part 2 of the Board Game Gateway podcast. In this part, we are taking you through our top ranked board games 5 through 1. This is just of all time and how we're feeling. If you've missed the previous part, please go look at our playlists on podcast, on YouTube, wherever you listen to us, and you will find it there as it's already been released. But in this discussion, we take you through the big boys as we work our way towards number 1 and what each of the hosts' favourite board games currently are. We hope you enjoy the rest of this podcast, we hope you enjoy this part, and we look forward to you listening and finding out the answers right now. Take care and enjoy the rest of episode 13 of the Board Game Gateway podcast. We are going to continue on because we've still got some games to come along. So we're going to start with, I guess I'll start with myself because I haven't started yet. I don't think I've started around. So I'm going to start with my number 5. Number 5. Here we go. My number 5 is going to be The Search for Planet X.
Oh, I had that as your 6th. I'm getting better.
Yeah.
Tightening it.
I think as we get towards the top, I think you're going to get pretty close. But yeah, The Search for Planet X for me, we've talked about this before, but it is basically my favorite logic puzzle sort of game at the moment, my deduction game at the moment. It is played through an app where you are all playing as astrologists, I guess, and we are all trying to determine where this mysterious planet X is using clues given to us through an app, but also through clues given to us that our colleagues are also sending out in the form of theories. They're sending out theories trying to get points to try and help their value, but the game is really solid. Look, it is one of those games that is very much a kind of a multiplayer solitaire game where you drop your head and you're all thinking and we only raise our heads. But the ability to lay the theories down and actually look at what everyone else is doing kind of really solidifies this game for me, because I feel like it's a race, but it's not. I don't feel like I'm isolated from everyone. I really do feel like I can see where everyone is kind of going. And at the end of the game, I think is one of my favorite debriefs. It's honestly, I think the game that's given us the best debriefs when we sit there and go, "You did this," and I thought that. So.
Look, I love this game too. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, Cryptid at my number 10. This was my number 11.
Right.
So I was right behind. Cryptid I prefer just for the gameplay, but when it comes to overall theme, look of the game, tactility, how it plays, this game is light years ahead.
Yeah.
And for that, I can definitely see it being this high.
What I really like about Planet X is me and you've played quite a few games, but Blake and I recently just played a game with a friend who's never seen it before, and we got less clues at the start, and my friend who's never played it got more clues. Didn't help him, but yeah, that was a good way to show new players that game, which is great.
Yeah. I like how you can do that. You can go, I'm a more advanced player, I'm going to start with less clues, and then you do.
Which was quite intimidating, starting with 4 clues for the first time.
It was rough, wasn't it?
So yeah,
but we found it around the same time that my friend Damien found it
which
too.
was a good
Yeah.
So that's my number 5, and we are into the big boys at the moment. So Ralph, we're going to go to you for your number 5, a second one of this round.
Sure thing. So number 5 is another worker placement game. It's a fairly big boy. This one is Anachrony.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is a sci-fi themed worker placement game, which I've mentioned once before on the podcast. But what I really love about it is because it's sci-fi, time travel exists. And say at the start of the game, I really need this resource, but I don't have access to it yet. I can get it from the future.
Yes.
And then you teleport that piece from the future to yourself. But the thing is, when you get to round 6, you need to pay it back. But you need to build the relevant machine to go back that far in time to actually deliver. If not, a paradox happens, and you could glitch certain parts on the board, so that's not accessible to you. And you can also travel back to the same point in time. So normally you will only have one worker. In this example, you have one worker, but if you travel back in time to the same point in time, you can use that same worker in a different spot. But
there's 2 of you in
that timeline, and you can.
That's head just exploded.
It's a board game that just nails the theme, and it's a crunchy game. Everyone's got asynchronous races and abilities, and It's just a fantastic worker placement game. I just want to play more and more of this game every time.
It reminds me of the movie Looper, which I
A little bit, yes.
From like the idea of that, I'm an assassin and I have to send people back from the future, but I'm eventually have to kill myself, sort of thing. But you don't know when it's going to happen. It reminds me.
It's a bit of that. It's kind of also cool because like the world is going to explode in round 7 or something, and you want to make sure you're the superior race that leaves the colony, and then everyone else dies. So it's a bit of a race in a way. It's really cool.
I just remember the last time you brought this up, and that it just intrigues me so much, that main mechanic of sending resources back to yourself that you have to pay in the future, pay your taxes.
Yeah. So like you don't have to, but there's punishments if you don't.
I'm already imagining myself sitting at this table playing that game and just getting tunnel vision in my own little world and going, no, I can't focus on anything else.
I've got to be honest, the board itself, it's structured in a way where you can see the timeline and you can see the point that you got that piece from, and it's mapped out beautifully.
It kind of reminds me of that, that 5D chess where you can...
Oh, a little bit like a Big Bang Theory sort of thing.
Back in three moves back in the past. And could never wrap my head around that.
No, thank you.
So that was my number 5. That was Anachrony.
All right, Matt, your number 5.
My number 5 is Crocodile.
Oh, wow. Okay, I did not pick that in your top 10. I mean,
not only did I have a great time, but I don't think Anna played it, but my son Robbie, he got into it, and like I've been trying to say it's to get aboard myself, because I think it's something that we'd probably just have set up all the time. Like it's it as you said, any skill level can play it, and it's excitable. It's exciting to play with anybody as well. So it doesn't really matter who your opponent is, how terrible they are. Doesn't mean that you're any better or anything. So it's a good family fun game. So.
Yeah, I can see my wife and I in a nursing home one day just playing that. For the rest of our days.
I think it's exciting to watch as well.
Yeah.
It's one of those games that, we've had people just sitting around the table just going. I sat there watching it for like 20 minutes, just watching, going, like, and it only takes, like you said, like you got in, you played, and you did a couple of shots, but before you even get your first shot, you watch the game for 10 seconds, and you're like, oh, that was a good shot. Like,
you don't know what's happening. You don't need to know the rules, but you're like, oh, that was impressive, wasn't it?
You know that was a good shot from the word go, and I think that was great.
I think one of my favorite sort of stealth rules in this game that isn't really talked about much is the rule that once you've sat down and you're set, you can't move your chair, so you can't try to get a better angle. You can like lean from side to side, but your chair is set.
The official rules are you can't even lean on the table.
I love that rule.
To do this.
Yeah, one of those sneaky rules. All right, so a sneaky 5th place there for Matt. All right, and Blake, to close us out on your fifth one.
Yeah, so my 5th one is a game that I fell in love with pretty quickly when we played it, and we've played it recently. It's Root.
That's all right. Okay.
It's one of those. It looks really cutesy, and you're playing these little animal factions. Cute little ravens and
cats,
marquee cats, but the gameplay is anything but cutesy. It's very cutthroat and backstabby, as I found out in my second game when Damien decided to stop taking it easy on us and took out my headquarters building on the second move that I left undefended.
Your stunned face of just, yeah, you can do that, can you? You can do that, can't you? Oh, no.
It's a rough game.
This game has a lot of depth, and with the amount of expansions that this game has of different... and the different clans that you can play, they vary so wildly. Like, it's not just you have a different passive. They all play differently in the order that they do things, the way, the cats are your basic RTS, you get resources, you build buildings, but there's other ones where you got to play cards, and the cards represent actions. You've got to do those actions in exactly that order every single turn, or your clan's going to go into turmoil and you lose your leader. You have to choose a new one.
Or you can play, like I've always played the mouse, and the mouse of the underground terrorist organization who just spring out of nowhere and they just go guerrilla ham on everyone, right? Yet to win as them yet. I'm going to try. I want to get there.
Or there's just the solo sort of, Elder Scrolls RTS guy who just wanders around the forest.
The vagabond.
Vagabond building items.
Never going to let you never let you get free weapons ever again as the vagabond.
It's cleaned up. You're kind of like an arms dealer, aren't you?
Yeah. You sort of help out the other clans and or screw them over, either way. This game has so much replayability because it also play up to, is it 4 max?
Yeah, 4-player max is what it plays on, but the amount of, like, they currently have, I think, about 10 different factions currently out, I believe.
Yeah, there's
So
a lot of
each clan
expansions
has
for
its
it, different
own-
maps as well.
Yeah, each clan has its own setup, so depending on which clans you're playing, the game is completely different every time, and I love it. It's really fun.
All right, well, we're going to continue on with you. We're going to go back down this snake order, and we're going to go start with you here, Blake, for your number 4.
I think this is the newest game on my list that I've been playing, and it was definitely a surprise to me because I think, as people could probably tell from my list so far, I like my big, beefy board games, and this one's not quite there, but I've just fallen in love with it, and it's Korra: Rise of an Empire.
Oh, wow.
I was so tempted to put that on your list. I thought after our discussion last week, maybe it won't be.
Yeah, I
That's
don't know.
impressive.
It's I find this game a lot of fun. It's I think one of the big selling points to me is the fact that it's not a big board game. It plays in an hour and a half max, even with a teach. I think it took us an hour and a half. And it's just such a neat little game that you can fit into almost any sort of situation. You know, well, just last week we were playing a game that we weren't really feeling. You know, we were about an hour into the game. We weren't really feeling it, so we decided to pack it up, pulled out Korra, and went, okay, well, let's get a whole game of this going. And it was just you can fit it into almost any situation. Really easy to get to the table. The theme's something, being a history buff, I love the theme of it.
Yeah.
Being a ancient history sort of city builder.
It's a gorgeous looking game as
It
well.
is, yes.
It's such a well designed game. Like I was a noob last week and I picked it up.
The way the board fits together, all the little, and I love the spreadsheet of, you're making this cube into a bigger cube to get more cubes.
See, it's really interesting because you say it's a beautiful board game, but it is just brown with highlights of pastels, but that works so well for the readability of the game and the game itself.
Maybe I should clarify and say it's a very clear game.
Yeah,
right?
very, very,
It's very
read-
concisely laid out. You're not guessing as to where you have to look next for the next piece of information, right? It's very well structured.
I do agree. All right, so that's I honestly that's not the one I pick. I did not pick it in your top 10. I mean, I thought I should have, but obviously now saying that. All right, Matt, we're going to come back to you for your number 4.
So I reckon my top 4 you guys will probably pick. So back to a board game, a gateway board game, and this would have been what you expected earlier, I'm assuming, which would be...
Oh, I don't know now. My mind was thinking Quirkle, but I didn't know. Like,
Nah, Quirkle didn't make the
Yeah,
top
I
10.
think Blake and I are on the right.
oh
page
yeah,
there,
yeah. You both like that.
Yeah.
But that action to the camera can look a bit weird. God, that's pretty clever.
Yeah, that's the game, right? It's still very unrelated to the action
Yeah.
that Blake gave.
Yeah.
That one, once
That
again,
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
came out of nowhere. I as soon as we put it down on the table, I fell in love with the intricacies of it. Once again, not overly adversarial against anyone else, but still has an element of playing with the other people at the table and possibly being able to stuff them up. But another one that I've enjoyed trying to get the kids into as well. They have not taken to it as well. Then they're possibly just a little bit away from the full range of what of thinking ahead about different moves that they could make and stuff. They're just checking boxes and taking the easiest option, the first thing that comes to their mind. But I've loved playing that one. It's basically extended Yahtzee. You may even call it. Well, we called it sexy Yahtzee, didn't we?
We did call it sexy Yahtzee, yeah.
I've played it with a couple of different people. Just absolutely love it. Nice, and once again, really, really well laid out. Easy to follow the rules. Easy to get into, and then once again, difficult to actually master because you're also at the whims of the dice as well. So.
and the other players' decisions too.
Yeah. So, no, love it.
Yeah,
Fantastic. All right, Ralph, your number 4.
So my 3 and 4, I keep chopping and changing the order of these two. It's really tough to decipher them for me, but my number 4 I've decided is Gloomhaven.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
So it's number 1 on Board Game Geek for a reason. It's a fantastic dungeon crawler. I'm not typically into my dungeon crawlers, but this is another co-op experience where myself and 3 other buddies played this game over the space of close to 3 years, where you play a character and you have a retirement goal, and you go through the dungeon and you kill baddies, and each mission has different variants, and it plays like a video game. Whereas if you've done this mission, it means this other mission's locked out for you because you found this thing, and you can never do that mission. So it's a campaign where the map locks itself out. There's a giant map where you put stickers on there, and you go, oh, we can go to the river and battle this sea serpent and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, my retirement goal is to kill that sea serpent, and I retire. And it was really cool because when my mate retired first, we got him a little cake and we put a little candle on it, and that was his retirement party. So we kind of made that for ourselves. That was really good. We queued the whole thing. He went away to the kitchen to deal with the kids, and we came back and there was a cake on fire.
On fire. Not a candle, just the cake on fire.
Just the cake on fire. It was like a flaming Mo cake. So yeah, that's essentially what the game is. It's a campaign. We played it over quite a long time. We beat it, and we still revisit the game quite often. It since became a PC game, and we've put like 100 hours into that as well. And you unlock characters, and all the cards play differently. Every character has a different feel to it. It's quite incredible. And Frosthaven is coming in a few months for me, so we're gonna pretty much, when that lands, all my game sessions are going to be Frosthaven for some time.
Gloomhaven is currently the number 1 ranked game on Board Game Geek and has been for quite a long time.
Yeah, I think 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and it pipped the Pandemic Season 1.
It did.
That's what it pipped for the first position at the moment.
Definitely a game that I need to play.
Well, we all got it as part of Epic Games by Gloomhaven free at the moment, so we all have it, and I think we have been talking about potentially doing an online play altogether. Yep. So I think we're gonna.
What's really cool is they made the small box version called Jaws of the Lion, which slowly introduces all of the rules over like 5 games, and then you have another 10 games in that box with all of the rules to it. So it's a really great introductory point.
Awesome. Oh, wow. All right, to close out our top 4, we come to myself, and this one is a game that I really do love. We don't play it nearly as often as we will say about all these games. But my number 4 is going to be Terraforming Mars. I have it at number 4. And for me, this is a game. Again, this does have a kind of a bit of. It does have that multiplayer solitaire feel when you're doing your actions, but we do only play it with the draft variant, which is what should be standard for most players. They do say you shouldn't play draft for your first couple of games, and we found it to be a bit kind of okay, but then we introduced the draft and we went, oh, okay, we get the game now. The game all of a sudden changed on its head, and it became a game about so if you haven't played Terraforming Mars, essentially you are all different space corporations, and we are playing different cards and events trying to terraform Mars, and the game ends when we've got it to a livable state for humans. But along the way, you can go about a different way. Do you want to be a person who is literally taking care of space events, like dropping a moon onto the planet to create heat, or do you want to be
redirecting an asteroid to hit it?
Exactly right. Do you want to be the person who works on the forest tiles and has a lot of introduces animals? You can do that. It's a long game. It does at 4 players with the drafting. We'll play in about 3 to 3.5 hours, but it is one of those games that every time we come out at the end of it, we're always like, oh, that was so long. Look forward to the next time. Yeah, absolutely.
I think there was a few weeks there where we played this 3 or 4 weeks straight in a row every session.
Burn us out a smidge on it, but we also we didn't have the Prelude expansion, which we do now, and that really does help speed up the beginning of the game because it gives your company some focus, and you can be okay.
It gives you starting production as well a little bit too.
Yeah.
What I really like about each round is a generation in the game, so it kind of fits that sci-fi theme. Where it's like, okay, well, it's not going to be livable until another 200 years from now. I'm like, well, that could happen, surely.
Well, it's a generation, so every generation, every round is a generation apparently. So the game normally plays over about 15 generations. So that's it's still a while away, but it's like us doing stuff. But that is my number 4.
I think just before we move on, I think you're right that the draft really takes this game to another level.
It does, yeah.
And like you said, it's just that extra layer of complexity where you can try to not about what you need, but about keeping certain cards away from other players, unlike Tom.
The amount of times we've been sitting there and hear someone, I can't give that to Blake. I can't give that to Matt. It's like the amount of times everyone says that, it really does change the game. It
Except
makes
for
it.
time, Tom gave me all the Earth cards.
Yeah, exactly right. Because you have to lift your head up and actually look at what everyone else is doing. You can't, if you want to be competitive in that game, you have to actually look up, and that does make the game.
Yeah.
Okay, and now in saying that, we've now done our top 4. Now we come to the big boys. This is the medals. These are the big places where I think we're going to be seeing truly where everyone's kind of top games are.
This is our podium.
This is the podiums. Here we go. So we're going to
I think by
start
now
with.
everyone should have be pretty pegged at this point.
I know I definitely got 2 of them, but I don't know what your third is. So we'll figure out.
okay.
We'll see. Okay, so starting with that, we're going to go into number 3. I'm going to say this time. I'll go again. I feel like I'll go again. I'll go
for
straight
it.
up. Okay, my number 3 is Dead Reckoning. I'm going to put my Dead Reckoning up at number 3.
I had it on the list, but he was at 5th for me, so that's higher than I expected.
So,
You're doing well. You're doing well.
Yeah, so Dead Reckoning has already been talked about on... Has it already been talked about? Yes, it has been.
I think it was on that.
Yes, it was on Matt's. So this is the pirate game that's relatively new. Came out this year, was backed last year and then was delivered this year. And it is basically the pirate game to end all pirate games currently, for me. I say that having never played Merchants and Marauders, and I do really want to still play that game. But Dead Reckoning to me does give you the feel of a grand Caribbean adventure where you get to make your pirate ship how you want it. Do you want to be a fast and speedy boy just going around going to islands, or do you want to be the warship who's literally saying, get the hell away from my haven, otherwise I'll blast you to pieces. The game itself does come, as we did talk about, has a whole bunch of stuff that we really like, but something we didn't mention was the way the battle work, which is where you, instead of rolling dice, you drop cubes into this 3D model of a ship, and they land in this battlefield, and those markings where they land give you different things like hits, money, barrels, etc. And because of all of that,
It's fantastic.
it is fantastic. It really is fantastic. And every game that
every element of the game. We also didn't mention how you can build your cards up as well.
No.
That's a fantastic mechanism.
The crew card crafting, which is essentially every turn you're going to level up a character, and every island that you go to, you can buy cards to give those characters special. So you can make your...
And that's it seems like sometimes such an inconsequential thing, right? Like,
until someone has the captain that can just initiate battles whenever they want, and you've got 4 cannons versus your 1, and you're like, oh my god, I didn't see that.
Why was I focusing on the bosun for so long? Right? It's another game with such replayability.
And I love that difference in the card deck building, where instead of building up your deck, which starts increasing in size, and therefore it's more diluted, and it's your deck size doesn't actually change, but the cards become more powerful in it. It's actually changing the initial cards.
So it swaps out the cards.
Instead of building a bigger deck.
You're evolving that deck without growing it,
Yeah, and it does feel like very much like this is my crew. Because I know what my crew is good at. Because I gave them the powers, and I know how this is going to work. So, yeah, Dead Reckoning is my number 3. It is, honestly, I knew I was going to like it, but I was surprised at how much I like it. And it's up there. Right, so we're going to go to Blake.
I'm just going to jump in here because I'm going to say that my number 3 is also Dead Reckoning.
That was the third. Okay, that was the third. I was like, I should have realized it was going to be there. Right.
Yeah, this game's just fantastic for me. Every time we play it, it's just such a joy. That mechanic where you're dropping cubes into a ship, it's one of the best things I've seen in a board game. I still remember our first play of the game. I think it was me and Tom, I believe, tied at the end of the game. We were all reading the rules. Okay, what happens in the case of a tie? And the game straight up says, well, now you have one last showdown to the death. Everyone drops all their cubes. It's all or nothing. Final duel. And
that's cool.
It was so fantastic. I think it ended up being one shot between us. We were all tied up on points, and it was everyone threw their hands up in the air. It was fantastic.
It does take the randomness of a dice and transform how you feel. Like, you never felt like you were gypped by the dropping of the cubes, and that's one of the big things about this game. It really does make you feel like a pirate without, but you do feel like it's a lot of, you do feel like this is my ship, and I'm going to be the dude who does this game.
But even with the randomness of it, you may lose the battle, but you get a lot of booty with it. You get coins, you get your materials, your
the
barrels,
to
so,
go buy stuff. Yeah.
you're never upset about losing a battle or being initiated on.
I think that makes one of the marks of a truly good game is when you can lose and not feel like you've had a bad night.
Yep.
Like you've still had a really good time.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. So that's a good, a very fine number 3, if I do say there, Mr. Blake. Matt, we'll go to you for your number 3.
Number 3 for me. Okay, so in my list, where have we gone? We've had the Warcraft game, we've had World War One game, we had the Pirate game, we went to the Wild West. Where haven't we gone?
We haven't gone to space. So this is Twilight.
No!
Space Base.
Space Base!
Oh, no! Of course! I'm an idiot.
Love Space Base.
Bye,
Yeah,
everybody.
that's right. That's a great game. That night we played, what did we do? Like
Five games.
We played five
We
games
played
in one night.
games. We played 5 games in one night.
I'm surprised it's not actually my number 1 after that. I don't think I've ever played anything 5 times in a single night. But no, I've loved it. It's a simple... Well, I shouldn't say it's a simple game. It's actually quite complex.
You can
but
check
it
out
is-
our playthrough on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's right. And me struggling to learn the game and getting frustrated halfway through, going, "Ah, damn it! Now I'm going to start again and figure this out again." One day I'll crack a win out of that game as well, and that's going to be awesome. But yeah, you're rolling 2 dice. You're building up what is essentially a
Space station.
a space station. And giving yourself extra powers on certain numbers in amongst those the 12 numbers you could roll. So you're playing the odds as well and trying to build stronger items if you can on the more common numbers. But you can build great combos up between those numbers where they actually feed each other. So once again, and sticking to my theme, it's not overly adversarial. But if you don't get the right card at the right time and someone else does, that can stuff you up. So, every time I played it, just had a rollicking good time. Whether it was digital or on the table, it's been really good.
I'm going to blow your mind here, Matt. So, for I think like $30 or $40, there's a campaign expansion for that game.
It's the Pluto.
The Pluto one.
Yeah. It's already on my. It's on my.
It's on your radar, is it?
It's on my. It's on my expansions of games that I really should get. Like, there's a few expansions out
I've
there.
never played it, but it's a fun game,
I need
so
it.
would love to
I
play
need
it.
And it's one of those games as well. Like I'm thinking about buying my own copy of it, even though Anthony's got it, and I'll probably
Yeah,
end up
I've got it as
buying
well, if you ever
there
need to
go,
borrow it,
right?
yeah.
It's a game I want to own just for the memories of it, really.
Yeah.
Which is impressive because I only played it 6 weeks ago for the first time, and it's still my number 3.
That's the thing about top 10 lists, though. It's like, it's the feeling of a game. You just know when a game hits you, you're like,
Yeah.
this is in my list. You just know. And to round out our bronze medal, Ralph, we're going to round it out.
Sure. So, this game, I was kind of living with the in-laws while we were building our house quite a few years ago, and my wife surprised me and bought me this $200 behemoth of a game out of nowhere. It is a solo game that I could play tucked away in my little study corner that I had at my in-laws' place. So that was really nice of us.
Oh,
So
I think I know what
this
one is.
game is Mage Knight.
Oh, it's not that one. Oh, yes. Of course it is. Of course.
So Mage Knight is a massive, again, another kind of like a dungeon crawler game where you play a mage that enters this realm on a portal, and you need to play cards to move. So I might have a card that just says move 2, but if I power it with like a mana crystal, it can be a move 4. So to move in the forest, it might cost me 3 during the day, but there's night phases in the game where if I move in the forest at night, it costs me 5 movement points. So you're constantly trying to maximize the 5 to 8 cards you have in your hand for the most efficient actions every time, because time is limited in this game. Time is always passing, and you basically go and you defeat an orc, and then you level up. When you level up, you do a bit of deck building, you choose a card to go into your hand, sort of thing, and you verse different types of enemies across different terrains. And if you beat a mage, a fellow mage, you get a spell card, and then spells are really powerful. So normally you play your 5 cards and then go to your discard pile, but I had a spell where if I triggered it with the right mana crystals, I can pick up all my cards and have another turn with that. So there's so many combos. I've played this game 30 times. I think I've only won it twice.
For a game that you play by yourself, that's not good odds.
He didn't even cheat and just like fudged the odds
right.
at all.
But that's the thing, like, there's so many rules in this game. It was really tough for me to learn, but it was the most rewarding experience that I've had to learn a rule book and watch YouTube playthroughs of people playing this board game. And just knowing I can sit down with pieces of cardboard for like 2 hours and have it to be super challenging and riveting, and like I've literally just been in the lounge room now, and like you have to defeat, one of the main scenarios is defeating these 2 cities that are really tough, and when I defeated one, like I did like an audible like yelp, like yes, and my wife's just like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm just playing my cards just on my own. It is such a rewarding game. Now, I say solo game, you can play it between 2 and 3, or I think 4. I would do 4. I've done many 2-player games. I played one game with a friend who also plays it solo, and it just flew by so quickly. It is co-op. You can do competitive. Never will, because the game is so tough. So I think I've got a session queued up over Christmas. Me and my friend Damien are showing 2 complete new players how to play the game as well, that also want to dive into the solo of it. So this is a game that was made in like the 90s, I believe, and is still in the top 100. There's so many combos in here I just have not seen. So
Wow,
yeah,
awesome.
really amazing game.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a strong contender for our. That's a strong number 3. I mean, I don't know what his number 2 is going to be if that's the case. All right. And saying that, now we move on to number 2. We're going to start with Blake. We're going to start with you for this one.
Yeah, so speaking of games that you just know, I've only had one play of this game, and I know I've knocked a fair few board games down my list for just that. But I had one play of this game, and I knew from the moment the box was opened and it was put in front of me on the board, and that's Ark Nova. I love this game. This game is fantastic. Just the theme of building your own zoo. It brings back those memories of those zoo park builders.
Yeah, the Zoo Tycoon.
Zoo Tycoon, Jurassic Park, Operation Genesis on the computer. Building your zoo, your theme park, and keeping all the animals inside. And as soon as I saw those cards out, my placeholder for holding the zoo and how you actually go about that, I was all in on the theme. And then it surprised me again, 1 to 2 to 3 turns into the game, when I realized at every single point that I wanted to try to do something, there was a mental roadblock. Like, I can't do that because...
Yeah.
Oh, but then No, I could...
There's a puzzle. There's
There's so much crunch to this game as well. And even though it is another one of those solitaire sort of games, there is a couple of abilities which you can use against other players. But this game, just the theme, everything hits home for me on it. And... I really have considered buying this for myself.
Yeah, I played the game once and I had to buy it. It was just such an interesting, well-constructed game there, and it's a relaxing journey game. Everyone can play it for that 2-3 hours and just enjoy it.
Yeah, it was one of those games as well that it didn't make my top 10, but I feel like I need to play it a bit more. It's certainly in my top 20 at the moment, though. Ark Nova is honestly the biggest comparison that most people made was basically it's Terraforming Mars but Zoo. But the only reason it's Terraforming Mars is the amount of cards that they have and all the interactions that they have. But other than that, though, the actual zoo puzzle itself was fantastic when we played it. And I really like the scoring mechanic, which is that you have the fame of your park versus the reputation, or it's something like that.
The tickets that you sell versus the conservation points. So you can conserve to try and help animals out in the wild.
So the game ends when someone crosses the streams, when your fame, your conservation rating goes past your tickets. So you could be just very famous and not conservative at all, or you could be the opposite, and you could be I'm doing this to save all the animals, but I'm not really like to do a lot of research but not really being famous. Take your pick how you want to play this game. And I think I picked that as number 2. I think I had your top 2. I definitely had your top 2 for that.
But I think because I missed that week.
Yeah, you did.
It was not on my radar at all.
No, I knew that was going to be the case. All right, so that's a good start for number 2. Right, I will go second for my number 2. And my silver medal has already been mentioned, but it is going to be Brass Birmingham. This is the game that I have played the second amount of most on this collection. It's not even my game, it's Matt's game. And Matt gave it to me, he brought it over and we played it the first time, but we've played it so much, he just said, keep it here. Because we bring it, every time we bring it over and we play, it's always going to be played here. And so it's one of those games that I'm literally going, I need to buy for myself just to have it, because I don't, or just buy it off Matt and just go. But it is the Kickstarter edition that has the clay coins, as we did mention. It is basically it is a route building game with a shared market. Sorry, not a shared market, a shared resource pool. Whereas you need resources on the board. So where do you get them from? Well, you can get them from the market, or you have to take it from players on the board. So as a player, I know that Blake is going a iron heavy strategy. So I'm going to just fill the market with iron, and he has to take from me. And that was what I love this game, because it is the game that I've been the most successful at, I will admit. And I find that I'm very good at reading, going, I'm just going to fill the hole. Like one game I just went, I'm just going to be the guy who makes only beer. And I was the only one on the market who was making beer. So everyone had to come to me.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Beer Baron.
And I was the beer baron, right? And that game...
so much, that game.
Because everyone was building, I want to make a lot of rail tracks, and I need beer to sell boxes. And
the reason that one hurt, though, was because you have to have beer. So we needed you.
Yeah.
You don't need anyone else.
Especially
And
that
it's
too, yeah.
damn it!
And you guys had gone too far up the other tracks before,
Sure.
so I'm like, okay, I'll just keep doing it. And but Brass Birmingham, I've played it, and even though I know how the game plays, the replayability comes not from seeing different things, it comes from the board state never being in the same, it's never the same, because you're always going, well, this game I'm now apparently over here, well, how do I make the best of it? And every time we've played this game, I now go, I'll have an aha moment where I'll go, got my strategy, I know what I'm going for now, and it emerges and we have this great game. So
I feel like a real idiot, right? Because when I was plotting out everyone's top 10s, I left a space at number 2, thinking there was something that I was missing.
Like a wild card.
Yeah, and I had Brass at 4, I had Dead Reckoning at 5. I'm like, if I just had filled that thing,
if you
everything
just
would have
shifted it down.
straight into place for
yeah,
me.
you would have been fine. All right. So Matt, your number 2.
Well, my number 2 is still sticking with a pirate theme, and is another game that came out, at least for me, was just a chance buy, but has had a lot of replay, and that was Tortuga. Mm-hmm. So
nice.
yeah, and in my dealings with the company that makes Tortuga, which the family name escapes me now, but they're lovely people. The games they produce are really, really nice. They look like little books on your shelf. Tortuga is a really simple game where you're playing as either the French or the Brits, or unfortunately a Dutchman if we've got an uneven amount of people on the.
I love it to a Dutchman,
play.
actually, yeah.
And we're just basically jumping ship with each other and trying to get treasure. Won't spend too long on describing the game, but every time we've brought this out with whoever plays it as well, it doesn't matter if it's someone who loves board games, someone who's would rather have, like Mum, a bit of Pictionary or something like that. Everyone enjoys the banter and the role play and the shoving around on the boats and being shafted to the desert island and trying to figure out how to get off that. Like, there is a lot, or sinking someone else's longboat and then not being able to get back on the ship, and that creating a catastrophe for everyone. But yeah, another game that easily fits in your backpack, and you can take it on holidays and bring it out anytime. It was a surprise. I bought all 4 games. I think I bought Tortuga by itself first, as just as a sampler.
Have you checked out the other games?
Yeah, I've got the other ones. Yeah, and I think the only one I haven't played is Bristol, which you played.
Yeah, I've played it like 3-4 times now.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I think that's one of the best ones out of all of them. But
After we talked
really
about
good.
it, I really want to play it too, and we talked about it in a previous episode, so I'm looking forward to doing that as well.
So that's my number 2, my silver medalist.
And finally, our silver medalist, our final one, Mr. Ralph, we come across the board to you.
I have a feeling you guys got me pegged now for my top 2. So my number 1 is a social deduction game called Blood on the Clock Tower.
You haven't done your number 2 yet. You haven't done your number 2, Ralph. You got to do your
This
number.
is my number 2.
That's Izzy's number 2.
That's my number
That's why
2.
I'm saying, damn it.
Oh, I thought you said it was your number 1.
No, number 2.
I swear I heard you say my
No.
number 1 is Blood on the Clock Tower. I'm like,
Hello Kitty's my number 1.
well, then I know what your number 1 is. Then.
It has to be Cards Against Humanity. I'm sure of it.
I have it around the wrong way.
So Blood on the Clock Tower, I've mentioned it before, previously on the cast, but
I feel
But it's
so
a-
cheap.
No, actually, no. I had this in the right
So
way
it's
around.
a
Yeah,
social
yeah.
deduction game, much like Werewolf or Mafia, where one person is the demon. However, everyone else is a good player that has powerful abilities. And when you're dead, you're still in the game. You still talk to people. So it's a love a good social game. I'll tell you about the game I played today, actually. So I played one of the more advanced scripts called, I was the character called the Courtier.
Ooh.
And what they do is if they can correctly, if they just at night, they say the name of a character, and then that character is drunk for the next 3 days and 3 nights. So that means that their ability does not work. And in the script, where or you choose all the characters in the game, there were 4 demons in this one, and I worked with another player and guessed what type of demon we're going up against, and I correctly got that demon was a Poe. So the Poe's ability is each night choose a player, they die, or you can not kill anyone. The next day you wake up and kill 3 players.
Oh.
So I kind of realized not many people died day 1 nor day 2. So on day 3 I was like, I'm going to use my ability. I'm going to make the Poe drunk. So we woke up, there were no deaths. We woke up the following night, there were no deaths. And I'm like, guys, I correctly made them drunk.
Oh, so you actually just name a character.
A character that's in the game. But because there's 4 different types of demons, you don't know what demon you're going up against. So yeah, every game is different. We recently played a game at Ingleburn Bowling Club just the other day, and we had 15 people turn up, most of which were strangers to each other. They left the room. I mean, I'm just complete friends laughing about the last 2 hours of the game that we just played. So yeah, highly recommend Blood on the Clock Tower as my number 2.
All right.
I've got no idea what number 1 is.
I know what it is.
I pegged so much value.
You
on
guys
that. It's
know.
been
You guys
mine.
know.
I definitely know it. I don't know if Blake will.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah, he knows it.
Am I going to kick myself?
No, I don't think you will. Because this is one, but it is
You'll
one.
know
that
it too.
All right, we'll go on, Ralph.
Well,
Give us your number 1.
Oh,
This
my
is
number 1.
Number 1. Here we
Alright,
go. This is the top of the list. Here we
Do
go.
I get a drum roll or something? Oh, there we go. So my number 1 pick is Twilight Imperium 4th edition with the Prophecy of Kings expansion. Because once you
I have
add
on
that
my
in,
list, but I didn't think it was number 1 for you. So that's all.
so Twilight Imperium is a
plays it more than
massive. Yeah,
alright.
so it's a massive game. It typically for my group it takes 10 to 14 hours for us to play this game. And it's fantastic. We dedicate the whole day to it. A lot of people say Twilight Imperium is fun during the game until the last round or 2 for some people, but I win or lose for me, I'm engaged in it the whole way through. There's a lot of backstabbing involved in this space opera social backstabbing game, where you all play a race, you're all versing each other, but you have to work together with certain people, otherwise you're not going to get ahead in any way. You need to manipulate people, you need to know who to trust. It's such a great social game, and I love the event cards that change the game every time.
I'm assuming you may as well chime in here.
Well, yeah, I mean.
We'll wait for his reveal.
No, let's come on.
Yeah, we'll go with me. 'cause-
Join hands.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. I'm also going to put in my number 1 here because
Yeah,
we
I
thought-
got one right.
Yeah, you got one correct on mine because my number 1 is also Twilight Imperium with the 4th edition, with or without the Prophecy of Kings expansion. I will say the expansion.
You can't take it out.
I do
now.
believe it has sped the game up. A lot of people say it hasn't, but I go, no, it's added a lot, yes, but it actually speeds the game up, I think, because we finished a game at 7 players in 7 hours. That was one day. That was the day where we had the wind explosion. But Tom, if you don't,
For the sake of the listeners,
A
what
gust
was
of
the
wind.
wind?
It was a gust of
explosion?
actual wind.
It was an actual wind, a gust of wind. So we played it. We played it
Never
outdoors.
served
We played it
beans at
outdoors.
Twilight Imperium.
We played it outdoors at my mum's house in summer. So if you've been in Australia, normally it's not that windy during summer. It tends to be dry and very hot. And so this day it was dry and hot, except for 1 2-minute period where one gust got the corner of. So I put a sheet over the top of the table because we had so many bits. So I'm like, well, I don't want. There was like an outdoor table, so we put the sheet over the top. Except I didn't
secure it,
I didn't secure the sheet. So a gust of wind got one corner of the sheet and just blew it. And then it just we end up losing 4 cards, and then it just kind of we put us back because it just kind of killed the momentum to try and get it all back. We did, and we played it, and it didn't kill too much. Getting it restarted was a bit hard, but Tom did end up winning in 7.5 hours. Like, he got to 10 points. He had a 4-point turn in one turn, so he got a lot of points.
All I'm saying is his was the corner that was uprooted. So
We'll see. But yeah, like Ralph said, it is my number one game because it is a space epic. The thing for me though that has made it one of my all-time favorite games is the fact that the game plays not to domination but to point scoring.
Yeah.
So you can a domination victory, for those of you who don't know, is where you literally destroy someone, you knock them out of the game, and that is very common in Civilization style games. But Twilight Imperium, whilst you can do that, is not necessarily recommended unless you need to do so, right? There's no point going for my home system, for someone's home system, unless there's an objective to do so, because you win the game by getting points, not by dominating the thing. And because of that, it changed the game completely, because you can start making deals with people and say, look, I need to get in there to do my objective, and if you let me in there to do my objective, I will get a point and I'll get straight out. Cool. We do the deal. Right. Now that I'm here, I've altered the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further, right? That whole idea. And so that's why, for me, it is like, yes, it plays very long, but as you said, Ralph, the most important thing about Twilight is it is a game where you are consistently engaged from the get-go, and because of that, that's why. Like, it doesn't matter how long it is. I'm literally sitting there the whole time going, I'm so invested in what everyone's doing, even if I'm not interacting directly.
Because you can take your turn fairly quickly. It'll be half hour to your next turn, but dude, you're watching other people, you're talking to other people. It's such an interesting game.
Making plans and stuff, yeah. So number one, and I mean, as a shock to no one, I mean, look, as we kind of said, if you know me, I've spent now nearly $500 on the game, including the games, but then I also bought a neoprene mat to play it on.
Some upgrades, yeah.
Yeah, some upgrades, cards and stuff. So no regrets. It truly is one of my favorite games. All right, we'll go to Matt for your number one.
Russ?
Yep. We all picked that. Russ Birmingham. Yep.
Once again, I went through a phase of just buying games because they looked pretty on my screen, and for some reason I seem to have a lot of cash to burn. I don't know what happened to that cash, but it's all gone.
It's called your late 20s when we all go through that phase. You're like, oh, excess cash, what do I do with this?
But I remember, because I bought it when Birmingham was re-released with Lancashire as well, as a double whammy. And as Nee said, like, as soon as we brought it to the table, it looked good, it felt good. I think the reason it's my top game is not only because we've played it so many times and had a lot of fun, but because this was probably the first big box game that I've explored with someone else. Well, we've both been brand new to it, and like as you said, that first play with I think it was us and Tom in that very first one. We spent an hour just dissecting, how could this actually work and what did we miss, and then we picked up there was one rule here or two rules here that we hadn't quite twigged onto and didn't play, and then we did that the next round, and suddenly it got deeper and better, and we realized we weren't refilling up one of the industries as the resources as we should have been, and that changed the game again. And once we finally, I think we now, hopefully we've, by the 8th or 9th play we now have all the rules down, but it's still just solid from beginning to end. Like, it's fun to get out of the box, it's fun to start playing, as you said, like it's and as Blake said as well, it's a game where as you're exploring it, you never know who's actually winning the damn thing either, which I really appreciate, because I don't usually win a lot of those big box games, so it's nice to get to the end and have an aha moment, and then realize how good someone's strategy was, but how you didn't see that, right? Like, why? I was watching, you do the boxes at once. I'm like, that's not going to pay off. That's a stupid strategy, all right? And sure enough, it's 50 points at the end. Well, what the hell? Why was I not on that box strategy?
I do love how it has the 2-act scoring. It's like we play the game in 2 acts, and we score at the end of the first act, and now you can see, oh, Matt had a really good start, and I'm now 30 points. Oh my god! But then we always score it in the second act, and whoever was last, they have to score first. So we always score them. So it means that the guys in first. So it's like you jump to the head, and now we start to see how everyone went. And there was one time where I think Tom was in third. You had this massive. Oh no, you were in third, and you had this massive blitz, and you're sitting there going, I think I've done it, and I pipped you by 2 points. But it was like that moment of like, he had the best second act we've ever seen, and all of a sudden it's just like he's sitting there going, That was when you were playing the Rail Baron. You're
Yeah.
the only one just went, stuff it. I'm just building rails everywhere. And
Yeah.
you nearly won it. We're all sitting there going, oh my God! And then, look, that's why, it's my number 2 game for that same reason. It's so good.
Just looking at my list, I also realize I love games where you don't know who's winning until the very end of the
Yeah.
game and you can't do anything about it. Like, games like Ark Nova, you really don't, you can guess, but you really don't know.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that in that game. And
I think that was, looking back at Cora last week, there was one thing that it started like that because there wasn't very many points being put on the board, and all of a sudden Blake just ran away with it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's hard to then realign your strategy to think, how the hell do I get 30 points in this last
And
2
even
moves?
on the next play that we had, like I went a military strategy, which was all in the glory endgame scoring points. So I think I ended the game like right up until the final turn. I had one singular victory point, and then I scored about 10 or 15 in the last round, and then scored 70 in end game scoring, which
Yeah.
just exploded out of nowhere.
4 points. It was all
Still
it was.
fell short, but it was it's nice to I do appreciate that end game scoring where you're not quite sure who's ahead, and because that can be disheartening when you're 2 or 3 turns out. You can see how far behind you are, and you just go, "Oh, okay, well, what's sort of the point of the rest of the
Yeah.
game? I know I've already lost." Whereas if you have that feeling of I may still be in this, you're just playing to the best of your ability, and then you get to the
It
end.
makes you play more. But coming back to Brass, there's been a couple of times when I think in the last 2 rounds or so we've had the sense that we might know who's kind of winning, but there's still points to be had. There's there's combos on the board that we could really extract that last bit of juice out, and that might be all we need. That's why it sits at my.
And it just
number one.
leads to
Yeah, I think
those
it's a good one.
moments where you get pipped by 2 points, and you think to that one turn, you go, I could have squeezed an extra 3 points out there, and that would have been it. And
Yeah.
Look, I picked that as your number 1, but we all love this game. All right, and now final number 1. Round us out, Blake. I think we all know what's coming.
I think you all do. It's Monopoly.
That's like the end of the game. What a twist!
Just get it.
Well, actually, I've put 2 together here.
Ooh.
It's Terraforming Mars as well as the Ares Expedition. I had them both separate originally, and I think when they were separate, Ares rounded out about the 6-7 mark on my list. But I thought about it a little bit more. They are basically the same basic game, just Ares Expedition is a little bit more slimmed down, plays a bit quicker. It has a couple of new mechanics in it, but at the core of them, they're both the same sort of game, and I just love this game. The amount of plays that I get out of it, I'm never ever bored of it. I play it online on Steam. I play it in person. I play the solo version. Play with other people. I've got all of the new maps. I can't get enough of this game. It's really fantastic, and I've already kickstarted the dice version of the game.
Yeah.
I didn't do it specifically because I knew you were going to do it. I'm like, no, I'm gonna let Blake have this one because I knew as soon as I saw the dice game he's gonna go for it, because I backed the Ares Expedition, so we've got that one coming in early next year. So I look forward to playing that one in person. We've played it on TTS, but no, we're going to be playing it in person when that comes in.
I don't know why. I literally hedged my bets with you, and I thought, well, I'm just going to put that as number 2 because there's something I don't know about you, and I don't know why.
Well, look, if I'm being honest, if I got enough plays at Ark Nova, I can see it maybe getting there.
Well, there is there
It's,
is an expansion they're working on for that. They're adding like sea creatures to it as well.
Oh, cool.
And there's already like I think 6 or 7 different maps that you can play, but there's some more maps coming as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what a great told this, Matt. You want us to give that quick recap of the top 5s for everyone?
I've also given everyone nicknames
All right,
based on
please
our
do.
lists.
I'll read out the top 5s and then we'll go
So-
to the nicknames.
So I'm going to do it both in the same. Ralph, the top 5, we've got Anachrony, Gloomhaven, Mage Knight, Blood on the Clock Tower, and Twilight Imperium. And I've nicknamed you the Campaigner.
Oh,
You
okay.
have quite a number of campaign-based games on
Yep,
your list.
that's fair.
And also big box games that
Yep.
feel like a bloody campaign when you play them as well. I've got for Knee, Search on Planet X is number 5, Terraforming Mars, Dead Reckoning, Brass Birmingham, and then TI. And you are the all-rounder, because your entire list you've got a bit of everything.
I'll take it. There are worse things I've been called.
Not very round these days. You've slimmed down. It's looking good, man. For Blake, we have in 5th Root, then 4th Korra, 3rd Dead Reckoning, Ark Nova, then Terraforming Mars, and you are big combo, big points.
I like it.
BCBP.
All of the games just about all the games that you've picked, there is a strategy to annihilate the end game, right? And I've picked up, whenever I play with you, that's where your aim is. Your aim is, I'm going to start small and then have 70 points drop out of nowhere at the end of the game.
I do believe that could be like that could be like a philosophy quote, like big combo.
That's what he orders a kebab.
Just remember, when life gets you down, big combo, big points. Thank you, Blake.
I think that's a tattoo idea.
That's another shirt idea. All right, Matt, your last
My
one.
top 5 were Crocodile, That's Pretty Clever, Space Base, Tortuga, and Brass. I didn't give myself a nickname.
You're the family guy.
I'm assuming I'm family friendly. That's right.
Yours to me is always about your very not just about your family, but family in the sense of anyone. I think your you guys can jump in here, but Matt's collection for me has always been about, let's get the kids around, and by kids and your parents specifically as well, getting around the table to play. I think the family guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did have one honourable mention that I wanted to
I would love to
bring
do
up.
one too.
Yeah, please.
Look, it rounded out at about my 20-ish mark, but that was only because we didn't get a full game of this completed. But what I saw, I really liked, and that's Shikoku 1889. I do have a feeling that this game could break my top 10, getting a full couple of plays in on it. I love trains. I love train route building games. This game seemed like it had a lot of meat to it. It was a lot to take in to learn, and that's why we didn't get the full game finished on the night. But it just seems like it's right up my alley.
Yeah, my honourable mention is going to be one. I want to mention number 20, which is Res Arcana. And the reason I want to mention that is because that would have been ranked way lower had it not been for you, Ralph, introducing to me that in person. So it didn't make the top 10, but it went flying up the list because now that I'd played it and I understood the game, I was like, yeah, that deserves to be a lot higher.
I'll never say no to a game of that. That's one of my favourites too.
Any honourable mentions from you?
So I've never really played living card games until the last couple of years, so I have to say Arkham Horror, the living card game. The base game has 3 games in it. It doesn't do anything too amazing. It's more just to learn the mechanics. But when you start doing the first story campaign of it, the Dunwich Legacy, it's done things that I've never seen in a board game or a card game before, and it's replayable as well. I'm really excited to dive more into the Arkham Horror series based off just completing that one campaign. It was absolutely incredible.
I'm the only one who didn't put TI in my top 10.
No, Blake didn't. Did you?
No.
Yes,
No,
I
you
did.
did?
His was there.
I did. Just wasn't as high as
Number 9,
Sure.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
Number one.
nine, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's because he played it once. If he's played it a few
True.
more, it would.
I definitely think so.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my honourable mention actually goes to Charterstone, which is probably the only...
Have you finished that?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
And I think when we like this was 4 years ago before we were allowed to speak to each other in person for those couple of years.
Yep.
It's probably the only game where I have made a point to attend every session. I loved it. It was, little bits of it open up every single time. It was
The first
it
game
was
we stuffed
quite-
up majorly, and
Did we?
Yeah, I stuffed up because we didn't have enough coins to do the initial. Like we didn't give you, I didn't give you everyone enough coins, but we powered through. But then the group that we had fell apart, and it's still over there. And I bought the recharge.
Yeah,
pack,
I would
so
like
we
to
want
go
start
through the whole thing.
So we're going to start it again. But yeah, that's good. Well, gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our top 10 list, and that was epic. I can say that this is the longest podcast we've done. but
It was a fun
rewarding.
one. Yeah, it was really good.
Look, I hope the listeners out there, I hope you start to get it. The reason we wanted to do this was to give you an idea of into our, what we kind of enjoy, what we really like, and to give you an idea of, if you think we like a game, maybe you'll like a game in the future if you think you relate to one of us. So that's kind of why we wanted to go about this.
Yeah, and maybe you even heard us speak about a game just now, and you're like, oh, I want to see more of that, and there's some fantastic videos online on all of these games.
Absolutely. So with that said, we're gonna not hold you any longer. We're gonna get out of here. Make sure you go and check out our Facebook group, our website. All of that stuff is there. I'm not going to go through them. Just go to our website, www.boardgamegateway.com. All the links are there. Go check out any articles, videos, and all that other stuff. So from myself, Ralph, Blake, and Matt, we'd like to say thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Giddy up.
Giddy up.
You turned into Kramer from Seinfeld.
I'm going to admit, Ralph, I thought you would have had Marvel Champions in your